Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Chris with the Virtual Voice once again this week, and I'm here with Fernanda again. Hey Fernanda, how's it going?
Hey Chris, really good. And you?
I'm doing good. So today is Thursday, and my both my boys are homesick. So it feels like a weekend, and I feel like I should not be working. It's kind of strange. I leave the office, and the boys are outside or out in the living room and watching TV and just playing sick. So
Yeah,
anyway, it's kind of an interesting day, and it's cold outside, and we're like, man, we just want to sit inside watch movies all day. But anyway, got work to do, right?
exactly. But that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Anyway, so we're talking about something that that you and I are kind of really support, and we very feel strongly about it. And we're talking about the importance of having a coach.
Yeah, exactly. So, just as Chris said, today's topic is why you should have a coach. So, some entrepreneurs want to scale their companies and accelerate their growth. And yeah, just to help them get there,
Mhm.
they can hire a business coach. That way, they can follow the right path.
Mhm.
So these coaches typically have years of business experience. So that's really important and can help you take your business to the next level. But yeah, one question that we always ask when we want to hire a coach is just like, is it worth the time? Is it worth the expense? And so, yeah, if you're unsure whether or not you should have a coach, in this episode, we will see the importance and why it would be a good investment for you. So, yeah, let's
Yeah.
start with it.
Yeah. So you said it perfectly. You said it's an investment. And that's one thing that a lot of people, including myself at the beginning, is like, "Oh, I don't have the money for this." Well, maybe you don't. Like if it's $100,000, program and you're only making 50 a year, then maybe it's not the right program for you, right? You have to find one that fits your phase in your business, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was listening to a podcast the other day called "Think Like a CEO" by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. They wrote the book "The One Thing" amongst a couple others, like the $1 Million Real Estate Agent or something like that. But Gary Keller is the one who helped start Keller Williams Real Estate Group here in the U.S. And one of the things that they said during their podcast is that during a market like this, because right now people are saying we're in this recession, people are cutting expenses. And one of the first things that people do is cut off the coaching. And one thing that they were highlighting is like coaching is not an expense. Coaching is actually an investment, just like what you just said. And, but the thing is, you need to make sure you find the right coach. And you said it perfectly at the beginning where, um, you know, this person has to be somebody who's had a business or is
Yeah.
in business, but maybe further along in the journey than you are. And one thing that I, thought about as you were saying that was when I was going to school, I was getting my master's degree, and it's a leadership class.
Mm.
And the guy teaching the class was a PhD, and his PhD was in leadership. But he's only been teaching his entire life. He's never led anybody, maybe like teachers and stuff
Yeah.
or whatever, but he's never been in an organization where he was like the CEO or anything like that. And so it was difficult because everything he said was academic. It wasn't from, and it was theory. It wasn't from
Yeah.
experience. It wasn't stories like, yeah, I went through this scenario and blah, blah, blah. So someone like him, I would not hire him as my leadership coach because he doesn't have the experience. He just knows it from the book. So be careful on who you get.
Exactly. You make a really good point there. Just like if you're searching for a coach, just see his background, see if they have kind of the same mindset and like if they're a really good fit. Because if they're not, you're going to see it as an expense and not as an investment. So,
Yep.
yeah, that was a really good one.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, yeah, let's start with the first kind of advantage here. So,
Yep.
they give you objective feedback and fresh perspective. So that's pretty important. So when you work with a business coach, you're getting someone who can provide an outside perspective on your business. And yeah, they can give you objective feedback that can make you that can make you take better decisions. Sorry. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just, I don't know what's happening today with me, but
It's your
yeah,
age.
exactly. I think it's my age. English is just going out of my brain. Sorry.
No
But
problem.
yeah, it's just like it's having like a new set of eyes, on your
Hmm.
business that can help you improve. So just think about that way. They can give you a fresh perspective on your business, because sometimes as a CEO or just like as an employee, like your business, where is your business going and everything, but you don't think outside the box. You don't see like
Hmm.
what other people can think of your systems and everything, because sometimes we are like, and I don't know if you, Chris, can feel the same way, but also taking it to the personal side,
Hmm.
just for example, we feel like everything's great with us, like I don't have any mistakes, and someone like it's like, well, you can improve on these areas, and you're like, wow, I didn't see it that way, I didn't thought about it, so I didn't think about it. So yeah, it's just a new
Hmm.
set of eyes for your company.
Yeah, definitely. And, this is kind of one of those things where you don't necessarily need a coach who is in the industry that you're
Oh
in.
yeah.
Because if you're, so for example, we have a construction company, and, um, you know, I certainly have a lot of people in the construction industry who are mentors and good friends that I do call on and ask them questions. But, it's always good to get that perspective that is outside of the industry. And so they kind of can open your mind up to creative ways. And maybe the answer to your struggle in the construction or whatever it is, you can go out and talk to someone who owns a restaurant or whatever, something outside of your industry. And they could say, hey, we do this in the restaurant business, and I think it could fit in the construction if you did this, this, and this, right? So they can really analyze things from a different perspective, as you said, and give you different ideas, creative ideas, and that'll really kind of open your mind up to different opportunities and things like that. So definitely, the coach, their job is to help you get a different perspective, open your mind up to different possibilities and opportunities.
So yeah, just like as Chris mentioned, what I really like in that is just like it doesn't have to be on the same industry, because at the end of the day,
Hmm.
like every business owner, doesn't matter if you're construction, if you're on the, I don't know, flower industry or anything, like
Yep.
you want
Hmm.
your business to succeed. So you have that in common with every business owner in the world. So yeah, that's very important.
So you said the flower industry made me think. I've got a friend who their family had a flower shop
Ooh,
for the last 20, 30 years. In fact, I remember I was there when they opened it up for the very
wow.
first day. Yeah. And I used to go, like, on the weekends, we used to go to the swap meet, and I used to help them sell flowers when I was in high school. But they opened up a shop, and I saw on Facebook the other day that they're closing the shop after 20, 30 years. Now, I don't know the circumstances behind it. I have no idea. I'm not sure. It could be completely different. But my immediate thought was like, oh my gosh, what a great opportunity to, like, improve on your marketing, do this and that. Like, it would be fun to be in the flower business. And I kept thinking about that. I'm like, man, it'd be amazing to do this. So, but that's coming from, a construction guy, but business is business.
Yeah,
You got marketing, you got sales, you got operations, and, you know, a coach who understands those things can walk you through all these different issues that you are having as a business owner.
exactly. So yeah, let's go to the next one.
Hmm.
So experience. Business coaches bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's the main point why you're hiring a coach, just for their experience and knowledge. So
Right.
they've been there and done that. Like most of the times, like when you present a problem to them, they can, with all their experience that they had, maybe they had the same issue, so they can help you fix it. So yeah, they can help you with different aspects of your business, from marketing to finance. Like it doesn't matter the department, they can give you their honest opinion
Hmm.
and provide expert advice and guidance. So yeah, it's just like having your own personal mentor there. So
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. I think just having someone that you can trust, that you can ask for advice, and that you know that the knowledge that they're giving you, as Chris mentioned, is just based on experience and not just on
Mhm.
theory.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you want to have someone who's a coach who actually has a coaching program. You don't want to go to someone who's, in your eyes is successful and ask them, "Hey, can you coach me?" Because there's no curriculum, there's no agenda, there's no we need to go through these steps in order for you to get to this next level. So what you want to do is get a coach, if we're talking business here, get a coach who's going to dig into your business. Hey, show me your org chart, show me your job descriptions, show me your manuals and things like that. That way this coach will know, hey, how are you operating your business? And if you don't have those basics in place, the coach's job is to hold you accountable. We'll talk about that later
Yeah.
of, hey, your homework for the next couple of weeks is to do this, this, and this. And then when you meet again, then they say, hey, did you get it done? And tell me about it. So, I've said it on a couple times on previous episodes where, Steve Rosenberg, I hired him as a coach over a year ago. And when we first started, it was really him digging into the business and giving me homework saying, hey, do these things, do a time study and take a picture of it and send it to me every day, and do this for at least 5 weeks. If you need to do it longer, then do it longer. Right. Show me your org chart, show me your disc profiles for everyone on your team. And let's talk about how important that is. So he had like this, what do you call it? This curriculum, for lack of a better
Mhm.
word, where we would follow that. And once we got the basics done and like, okay, good, you got a good foundation. So what are we going to do here? How are we going to grow this business? And one of the reasons why I chose Steve is because just Steve's got skills that I don't have. He's very outgoing. He's an extrovert. He loves to be in front of the camera. I mean, you get a camera out there, he would push you out of the way so he can be in front, right? He's good at marketing, he's good at sales, he's good at that stuff, and those are areas where I struggled. So it made sense for me to get coaching from someone who is good in those areas and who would hold me accountable. Because before we started before I started working with him, we had a YouTube channel for our property management company, but there was really no purpose behind it, and I was always like coming up with excuses of why I wouldn't do videos, right? But now, we don't have the property management anymore. I don't know how many videos we had there, but on our construction side, we did pretty good. We're doing one video a week. Sometimes we're doing two. We're up to
Yeah.
about 50 videos now. So, and that's all because, Steve pushed me enough, so much so that now I feel comfortable, not totally comfortable, but I feel comfortable doing it, even though it takes me 30 minutes to do a 2-minute video, right?
Yeah, with the smile, Chris.
Yeah, right, right. So Fernando will say, "Hey, Chris, can you do that again? But next time, smile." I'm like, I don't have any smiles in me today. But and Fernando's my coach too, right?
Yeah. On the
Um,
smiling side, I
on
am.
the smiling side, yeah. But and then one thing I liked, so there was one time, a good coach is not going to let you come up with excuses. So this
Mhm.
was a year and 2 months ago, when I flew back from Houston. I had got COVID, and Steve had given me homework. We met on Zoom like while I was sick. And he says, all right, Chris, did you do this? No, I didn't do it. Did you do this? No, I didn't do it. Did you do this? No, I didn't do it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm sick. He's like, so you're telling me that in the last 2 weeks since we met, you haven't done a thing that we talked about? And I felt like dirt. Like I felt like trash. I'm like, there's no excuses. I need to get these things done. Right.
Yeah.
So that was as hard as that was. And it was embarrassing. And, obviously when you have a coach and you're talking to them, you want to like, hey, look, I've done all these things. Yeah. I mean, you do that with school, right? You want to
Yeah.
like, you want your teacher to recognize you as someone who does their work all the time and blah, blah, blah. That was good for me because it made me feel terrible, and I don't want to feel that way again. So I corrected myself, and no excuses now. So that's another thing. That's kind of beyond the expertise and experience. It's moving more into the accountability piece. But yeah, so that was my experience with Steve. And so one other thing. So Pete Newbig, he was on our first episode,
Oh yeah.
and so Pete and I are alike. And so we're very operationally focused. And so whenever I get stuck on operations or kind of a business type thing, I go straight to Pete. And Steve's good at this. He goes, hey, you know what? That's more of a Pete thing than me. So I go to Pete. And he's given me a lot of great advice. And they've made some mistakes, along their way on the property management side, where he used that as an example. Say, hey, Chris, this is what we did, and this is how it turned out. It wasn't good. In order for you to not experience that, you need to do these things. Get this type of insurance. Make sure when you close your company that you have these documents, for the next couple of years or whatever it might be. Oh, look at that. That is very unprofessional. Do you hear that? My phone going off?
Yeah, no worries, Chris.
No, I'm a popular guy. Everyone wants to call me. But anyway, so yeah, that's another good piece of a coach, the expertise and the experience that they have, whether it be things that they learned because they did a good job on it, or things that they made a mistake, and they can share that with you, so that way you don't repeat what they did.
Yeah, and just before we go to the next one, I just want to say, like, I really like what you said, Chris. Just looking for a coach that, I don't know, has those things that you don't have to. Like, for example, you're not going to go and look for an introvert coach, because
Right.
that's not going to help you. It's just choosing someone that you know that it's going to take you out from your comfort zone. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah.
So
It like you go to the introvert part, right? So
yeah.
I don't think Steve is at all introvert, not even when he was a kid. I can't see that in him. I think he's very strong extrovert, outgoing kind of guy. But another good coach, good personality for me would be someone who is an introvert, who's gotten over that and is doing well, and knows how to balance that, and knows how to refresh themselves. Because when you and I are introverts, so when we go out to public places and we're talking and socialize, that's really draining for us, right? So someone who's been through that and who can coach us through it and help us feel know how to recharge our batteries after something like that. But yeah,
exactly. Just going again, just like people who have the experience in those areas. So
right.
yeah, let's go to the next one. So what you were talking about, Chris, just accountability. So
I went too fast.
no worries. I know you're excited on the next point. So when you work with a coach, you're making a commitment to yourself and your business. So that's very important. It's just like when you hire a coach, don't say like, oh yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like Chris said, no excuses. You're making a commitment with yourself, with your coach, and with your business. Because at the end of the day, if your business is failing, you cannot blame the coach and say like, yes, just you didn't give me the right coaching. No, it's because you put the excuses and you didn't do what you needed to do in order for your business to succeed. So your coach will hold you accountable and keep you motivated to reach your goals. They'll provide encouragement and push you to be the best you can be. And yeah, it's like, and Chris maybe can say if it is, but it's like having a cheerleader for your business. But sometimes it can also be difficult, because I think Pete sometimes is like, hey Chris, you're not doing a great job, but at the end of the day, you know that it's I don't know, it's for the best. So yeah.
That's true. So just talking about Pete, and Pete's great for me because I'm not one who likes small talk, or have you heard the term compliment sandwich?
No, sorry.
So let's say, for example, there's something that you did, and like, okay, I got to talk to Fernanda about this because, either you didn't do a good job on something, or whatever it might be. A compliment sandwich is, I start the conversation off saying, hey, Fernanda, and I give you a compliment.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. And then I said, but in this area, we got to blah, 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 blah. And I give you that feedback. Right. And then I end it with a different compliment. So you got a compliment, and in the middle is the thing that I need to give you feedback on, where you need to improve, and then another compliment. I don't like that. I know some people need that, and that's totally cool. And I've done that many times before. I don't like that. And Pete's not the kind of guy who's giving compliment sandwiches. He's going straight to the meat and saying, "Hey, stop being a victim," you know. And Pete's and that's what I like about Pete, because I know that if he's telling me something, he's being real with me, and that's what I want. It's like, let's cut the small talk, get real with me. What is it that I need to improve on? So that's Pete. Steve's the same way. Steve is the same way. Steve's not shy to call you out if you're doing something wrong. And I really appreciate that. So, you know, deep inside, it's like, you don't want that feeling of someone calling you out. If someone's calling you out, you want them
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, you know what, Fernanda, look, everyone, Fernanda did this," right? You
Yeah.
know, that's the kind of stuff you want to hear, right? So that's why you kind of move towards it anyway. So, you know, that accountability piece is very important. And then there's different approaches. So I was working with Phil. Phil was on our podcast as well. Phil's the leadership coach I was in Afghanistan with back in 2009, 2010. And Phil's approach is different. And I like his approach too. His approach is, he's very kind and very like, very not, he's not direct. He's kind of indirect, but he pulls things out of you, you know. And his way of accountability for me was say, "Okay, Chris, you know, we're going to meet in 2 weeks. Here's what we discuss as far as what your action items are. And next week, I'm going to send you a text just to see how things are going. You're supposed to talk to so-and-so, or you're going to talk about this." And so he'll text me, say, "Hey, Chris, I know you're talking to someone on your team." Or even it was like, "Chris, I know you were going to have a talk with your son last night about, you know, this particular thing. How did it go?" You know, and that was his way of holding me accountable, but it's still at the same time, like, showing me that he really cares and wants to know like how I'm developing and how the situation's developing too. So there's different ways of holding people accountable and motivating them. Both ways for me worked. And but if you're the type of person that does not like the direct in your face kind of accountability, you probably want to find someone who's a little bit more indirect. But yeah, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was a really great point. And I like the sandwich compliment. I didn't know about that. So it's a
Yeah.
new
So,
thing.
you know, it's funny. It's like I'll be talking to somebody, and you know, it might be a friend, and they and I know, and I'm like, okay, he's calling me up because I know he's not happy about this thing. And and then he's giving me a compliment sandwich. I'm like, "Oh man, don't give me the compliment sandwich. Just get to the point. Like, I don't need a pat on the back. I don't need you to hug me and whisper in my ear like, 'Hey, you could do a better job.'" You know, like, I don't need that. I just tell me, say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we would do a better job on this area," right? Like, okay, cool, I got it. Let's move on. So yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. If you like compliment sandwiches, Fernanda, I'll give them to you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. That sounds really good. Just like someone hugging you saying like you're doing a horrible job, but
Yeah, exactly.
like you're awesome after that,
Yeah.
you're just so confused and don't know what to
Yeah,
do. But
exactly. Exactly.
okay, so yeah, let's go to the next one. So customized support. A good business coach will take the time to understand your unique situation because every
Mhm.
situation is unique. So, and create a personalized plan that it's tailored just for you.
Mhm.
So yeah, they'll provide customized support and guidance to help you stay focused on track. So yeah, it's like having a roadmap for your business success.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's really good just to have this on the area because I don't know from what from my little experience on this, I've seen that it's different to have a coach than to go into masterminds or going to
Yeah.
I don't know events or talkings because for example the one that we went with Jordan Belfort, I really
Mhm.
enjoyed that one, but it was just pretty general, like you took ideas, you took like, okay, so I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that other thing, but it's just pretty general. You cannot ask questions to him like, hey, this is my situation, what should I do in this case? So having a coach is just, you can tell them like, hey, like, this is my business, this is my story, I'm struggling with all those things, like, what are your recommendations on this, you know?
Hmm.
And they're going to let you know, based on your experience, based on your background, based also in their experience, I don't know, this unique solution that, I don't know, maybe what Chris is struggling is not the same that I'm struggling. So
Hmm.
if we have the same coach, he's not to he's not going to give the same solution for him as me. So yeah, I think that that's a pretty good point. Just like
Yeah.
it's customized support.
Yeah, exactly. So the coach really should be asking a lot of questions just to gain an understanding of what's going on. Um, because even though in your mind you understand everything what's going on, but when you communicate it, all the details may not completely be there for the coach to have an understanding of what's going on to help you out. So coach should be bringing, like, asking you questions, bringing this stuff out. um I've been a part of either like a mastermind group or like just a discussion, a group of business owners in a discussion, group discussion. I'd bring something up, and these people are not coaches, they're just fellow business people who are in this discussion, and they would just immediately just say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And they have great intentions, I know, and they want to be helpful. And and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, I get it, but you don't have the whole story here, and I'd rather you have all the details, and then we can kind of discuss a good action item behind that. But sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good point, and I'll just kind of move on. I'm like, okay, well, I know their intent is to be very helpful and to help me out, but just be careful if they're not asking, if a coach that you're paying for is not asking questions to get the the picture and understand your situation, then that's kind of a red flag. You really should have a coach who's asking those questions. I will tell you something that I really liked about Phil is that at the end of our sessions, Phil would say, okay, so you got this scenario, that you have this situation that you're kind of stuck on. What are you going to do about it? And I'm like, well, Phil, I was kind of hoping you'd tell me what to do. And he goes, no, no. He says, you know what to do. It's in you. Just like throw out ideas and let's discuss them. Right. And
Yeah.
that was an excellent point, because the answer typically is in you. You just have all these doubts that's kind of blocking you from being confident in that decision. And just throwing out, and there's so many times where Phil and I would have a discussion, and I'm just throwing out ideas. I'm like, oh, he probably thinks I'm an idiot. And I would say that, I'm like, oh, I said, Phil, I'm just blabbering here. I'm not sure what I'm saying. He goes, no, this is good. You said this, and this, and these are pretty important. So let's go a little bit further. And then through that, we were able to come up with like, okay, here's a good course of action with this situation. And Phil helped facilitate it, but the idea and the solution came from me.
Yeah.
And it was empowering, right? It made me feel like, oh, I got this. I can be a leader, you know. And that's just a great sign of a great coach, someone who could bring all that good stuff out of you. So those are some things that you want to look for in a coach.
Yeah, that was really good. And yeah, right now that you were saying that, Chris, I remember, I think we were talking about Phil, and that you said like, what I really like about Phil is that he pulls the information out of me. Like,
Yep.
he doesn't give me the solution, he makes me create the solution. So I think
Yeah.
that's very important, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the only person that you can blame is yourself. So if you're just
Mhm.
like, well, it's just he told me to do that, so I did it, and it didn't work as I was thinking or something. Like, people can start blaming coaches, they can start blaming like a lot of persons, but like,
Mhm.
you just have to blame yourself for, I don't know, not performing well, or I don't
Mhm.
know, for other issues that are happening. So yeah, just pulling the solutions from you, it's
Yep.
going to make you also, I don't know, get ownership on your mistakes and
Mhm.
also your success.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And one thing, and what Steve was good at, and still is, because I still talk to him almost every day. But there's always times for a business owner, especially at the early stages, where you're like, this is getting to be a bit rough. It's so much easier if I were to just shut the business down and go get a job, and I probably make more money and work less, right? The temptation of something else is always there. And, as a business owner, typically you don't have that person to vent with, right? You might have your spouse, but sometimes like, well, I don't have that discussion with my wife because I don't want her to feel worried that, oh my gosh, Chris is going nuts and he's going to shut down the business, and what are we going to do to, pay the bills, right? So, I certainly want to be careful with the types of things I say. And then with team members, I really shouldn't have those discussions with team members because, like if I were to tell you, Fernando, like, hey, Fernando, I'm thinking about quitting and getting a job. And in your mind, you're like, well, gosh, now I got to go find another job, right? Like you don't want to put that pressure on team members. So you got to be careful what you say. A coach is that release outlet, right? So I'll text Steve, I'm having a bad day, I'm pissed off about something. I'm like, hey, Steve, you know what? I'm so mad today. I hate everything I'm doing. I want to quit. And he'll talk me off the ledge. And Steve is really good at that. He's, you say cheerleader earlier. He is somebody who, well, one, he'll be a cheerleader when he has to. I guess that's what a coach is, right? Sometimes a
Yeah.
coach is on the sidelines cheering you on, like, yeah, good job, good job. And there's other times the coach is on the sideline yelling at you, saying, hey, you're messing up. Well, use your head, get in the game. And they're not saying that because they're being mean. It's because, they believe in you. I
Yeah.
put you out on the field because I believe you could do the job. Now go out there and do the job, right? So Steve has that good balance of going back and forth, of being that coach, of like being firm, and then also the cheerleader when I'm like, hey, I'm hurting today. He's like, all right, cool, let's talk about it. Let's make sure we get through this because you're not quitting and you're going to do this and you're going to be successful. So if I didn't have a coach, I'd be hurting.
But yeah, it's good. It's good that you have coaches, Chris. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, and also I've been benefiting from your coaching sessions because you tell me like, hey, Fernanda, I did that. So I'm like, oh, that's good. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm also
Yeah.
getting some coaching there, indirect coaching.
There
So
you go. Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, let's go to the last one. So growth and development.
Mhm.
So yeah, a coach can help you identify areas of your business where you need to grow and develop. They'll provide you with the tools and resources you need to reach your full potential. So whether you need to improve your skills, knowledge, leadership abilities, a coach can help you get there. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's having a personal training in your business. And as you said, Chris, just I think that the most important part of just having a coach is just also trying to get better on the leadership abilities because
Mhm.
it's hard. And I know we talk about that. Just having to be the leader for someone, it can be so hard. And like
Mhm.
we don't even realize that. Like, for example, oh, that's easy. You're the leader. You're the head, and like
Yeah.
everyone's going to follow you. That's it. But no, it's something more than that because you need to be really conscious about your team, the people that you're working with, and also, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it can get hard. So just having a coach that can help you get on the right path, just hey, you're doing great, but you can do better on these things. Like let's change the system. So yeah, as we were saying, just having a personal cheerleader, personal trainer there that they care, they are going to give you their opinion about things, they're going to keep you on at the right path. I think that's pretty important for the growth and development.
Yeah, definitely. And so we were talking earlier about Pete Newbig and how he was, telling me at one point, he goes, hey, stop playing victim. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember I was telling him, he would ask me like, okay, what's the status of this thing? Oh, it got paused because of this, and this, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what about this other thing? I said, well, that hasn't happened yet because this, and this. And he goes, well, the problem is you're just playing victim. you gotta actually do something about these things. I'm like, all right. So I took that to heart. I'm like, all right, I
Yeah.
don't want to be known as the victim. I want to be known as someone who pushes through stuff. And to be honest, and he was right. I was using these excuses to keep me from pushing forward on some important matters. So what I did was, right after that conversation, like the day or two after, I made some progress and I sent him a text. He goes, see, stop playing victim and you get things done. I'm like, yeah, you're right, Pete. Thanks a lot. But I needed that. Right. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate, like I said earlier, I love how Pete is because it really, like I said, I don't need the compliment sandwiches. Right. And then, I'm going to talk about all the different coaches and mentors I had, but with Phil, he and I would talk about just leadership specifically. We wouldn't talk about operations. We didn't talk about it. We talk about just leadership in the business, leadership at home. And what he was helping me realize is like, hey, you're really stepping into the lanes that you hired other people to do. And you called me out on this too, right? When you were my assistant, where you're like, hey, Chris, you're acting like you're the assistant when I'm the assistant, right? I was doing your job, and not because I feel like you're doing a bad job, it's because I didn't do a good job stepping away and empowering you to do it. And I still struggle with that, right? Because I've always been a doer, never been, at the higher level as I am right now. So Phil, really helped me identify areas where I needed to step away. And I would say, during the time I was working with him, it made a huge difference. And I really can point to his coaching sessions because of that. And then Steve, I was talking to Steve maybe like 2 weeks ago, and like I said, it's still a struggle for me to step away from the day to day on some things, right?
Yeah.
And so Steve told me, he goes, hey, every morning, ask yourself this question: what would a $10 million CEO do today? I'm like, okay, what would that be? And I have it written on my board today or every day. And I look at it every morning. It says, what would a $10 million CEO do today? And I have networking, videos / content, and strategic partnerships. So that's my role. Those are things that I can do that no one else on the team is hired to do. And so those are the things I need to focus on. So that was a good reminder to me and a good question I need to ask myself every morning. And really, if I did not have that coach telling me and feeding that into my mind, I'd still be struggling right now.
Wow, yeah, that was really good. And as you said, Chris, just having theirs, just going to kind of the first advantages that we said is just they give you a fresh perspective of things,
Mm-hmm.
and just like as a doer, you can be like, well, I have to do all these things. Like I remember you saying like, Fernandez, just I don't want to give you the crappy work. So I was like, yeah, no worries. Just like I was hired to be an assistant and it's my job. So, but
Yeah,
I understand the part
your job is
of,
a crappy work. It was on your job description.
yeah, exactly. It's just, I saw it there. It was job description, crappy work, but no, just joking. But yeah, it's just being so, I so used to doing things like you're like, well, that's my everyday. I have to do all these things by myself, but just having a team there, like having a coach can make you like, hey, why are you doing that? Like, isn't Fernanda supposed to do that? Like, and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, she is. And why you're
Yeah.
doing that? Okay, yeah, you're right. You need to delegate
Mhm.
and everything. So I don't know. It's pretty good to have a coach, and we're going to have another episode because we have more
Yep.
points there that
Yep.
we want to go over. But
Mhm.
just think of all these points that we hit here, just the experience, the fresh perspective, motivation, accountability, customer support, like all those things, and put on a list like what are the things that right now I'm struggling at. Like it can be personal, it can be business, because just as Chris mentioned, a coach is not just for business, but it's just for you to grow as a person, as a leader,
Right.
and not
Mhm.
just on the business side, but also on the personal side. So
Yep.
yeah, just great all those things that you're struggling with, and say, okay, am I ready to take coaching sessions? And yeah, most of the time the answer is yes, but you have to see it as an investment rather than an expense.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's it. I really like this episode. Really like uh all the things that we mentioned. And I think Chris, you have the experience just with being with a lot of coaches and everything.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
yeah, just you talking to me about it, I think I'm getting a little experience there. But
Hmm.
yeah, sorry.
You learned what a compliment sandwich is, so you can, do that with your family and friends, whenever you need to have a tough conversation with them, right?
Exactly. I'm going to be like checking, like, okay, compliment, check. Okay,
Yep.
so you're horrible, check. And then I love you, check, and
There
that's
you go.
it. A
Yep.
great compliment sandwich.
Yeah,
But
for those at home, you could practice with your dog or your cat.
exactly. And
Yeah,
see
just
how
get the
that goes.
but yeah, so we're gonna have a part two of this because there's more points for having a coach. And the coaching aspect is extremely important, especially if you want to achieve a higher level. If you're good with where you're at, then okay, whatever, that you're probably not listening to this podcast. But if you're somebody who wants to, like, hey, I want to get to the next level. Well, if you want to get to the next level, you got to change. The only way you can change and get better is if you have someone coaching you. You could do it with mentors, you could do it with reading books. But someone who's actually has that, experience coaching people and bringing things out of you, it's so much better. And it does cost money. It does cost money, but like we were saying, it's not an expense. It is an investment. So that's probably one of the first investments you should make. It'll make you a better person, make you a better leader, and make you a better business owner. And it's not a selfish investment because your team is going to benefit from it too, right?
Yeah.
They're going to benefit from a better leader, better business. They're going to have job security. And they're also going to learn from the things that you learn from your coach, right? Because, like I share the stuff I learn all the time with the team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, don't look at it as an expense. Look at it as an investment. And we'll have more to talk about during our next episode when we talk about part two of the importance of having a coach.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris. So yeah, just stay tuned for the next episode that we're going to have, and hope everyone's doing well. And thank you for listening to this episode. And yeah, stay virtual. Take care.